After leaving my husband of 20 years, I found a box of journals that I had kept for our entire marriage and had completely forgotten about. And when I was in it, it was so hard to see the patterns. And after leaving, I felt such shame and embarrassment realizing how much I had put up with. But this forgotten box of journals, along with therapy and other treatments, helped me to look back at these patterns and make sense of my marriage and rebuild my life. And it felt important to share. So, welcome back to the Metamorphosis Journals. There was always a string of elaborate family vacations planned by my in-laws, and at one point a vacation to a dude ranch in Wyoming is in the works. And I always find the in-law vacations really challenging, but this one felt harder for a variety of reasons. The isolation, the expense, and usually the trips were planned by Jim's mom, but this one was with his dad. Jim's parents are divorced, and all the trips so far had been with his mom. His dad, Chuck, is this abrasive, high-powered lawyer who represents large corporations when customers or employees die using their product. And he's this tall, lanky man with this goofy grin, and as a young man, he would slather on baby oil and bake in the sun excessively. And now his skin is so damaged and red and scarred. He has really bad bouts with skin cancer and has to have these invasive skin treatments regularly. And yet he brags about how worth it was to have been, in his own words, a bronze god in his youth. The first time he comes to visit us out west, we pick him up at the airport, and as I greet him with a hug, he pulls me in with his hands on my hips, and it just feels way too close, and I fight this really strong instinct to pull away. That night, he walks out of the guest room dangling the hot water bottle I had left for him. I thought he might get cold since our apartment was chilly and we had no heat. And he's laughing and says, I haven't had one of these since I was a kid and constipated. Do you think I'm constipated, Maggie? And I feel just embarrassed and stupid for thinking a water bottle was a good idea. Jim tells me how Chuck was rarely present as a father. Jim called him the special occasion dad, always there for the big things, but none of the day-to-day. Jim's mom tells me how Chuck needed space and left for a couple weeks when the kids were little, but his presence was so minimal in the family that none of the kids noticed he was gone. And that was before he left for good. One day, he sat the kids down and told them he was leaving. Jim's mom was devastated. She was left to raise 4 kids on her own. Yet, the story in the family is that Jim praises his dad and speaks of his mom raising them with judgment and contempt, saying she couldn't handle the kids. The family story is that the dad is this stand-up guy, kind of a hero for taking such good care of her financially when he left, while his mom was left to raise 4 kids alone. When Jim was in his early 20s, he was traveling cross-country, and he was going to be near where Chuck and his new wife were vacationing, but they didn't allow Jim to visit because he hadn't made enough of himself in life. It's common when we see Chuck that the first words out of his mouth are an insult of some sort. Like one time when he's arriving at our home and he starts saying sarcastically, "Wow, your neighbors must love you. Your yard is a mess. Looks like you belong in West Virginia." He often criticizes how Jim looks, says that he needs a haircut, he's wearing the wrong clothes. Jim always laughs it off. Once he put on a stereo with Country Roads Take Me Home by John Denver, and he played it before his dad showed up. Country roads take me home to the place I belong, West Virginia. And it's playing in the background as he approaches our house, and Jim just makes a joke of it. And I kind of feel bad for Jim because of how his dad is, but he always makes excuses for him, just like I make excuses for Jim. But I find Chuck's energy incredibly challenging to be around, and I can't imagine it in the middle of nowhere for a week. And I'm hesitating to say yes to this trip to Wyoming. I suggest that Jim and the boys go without me, but Jim is pretty insistent and assures me that he'll be supportive, and I agree to go. We extend the trip to have some family time with just the boys and stay at Grand Teton National Park for a few days. And we make some great memories with the boys. And we see moose and beaver and bears. And identifying scat, and there's all these gorgeous views. But there's this one time we're driving through the park and we spot a grizzly bear on the side of the road. And just in case you don't know, grizzlies are known for being aggressive and dangerous. But Jim abruptly stops the car and takes the boys out and up close to see it. And as he's taking the boys out of the car, I am begging him not to. He rolls his eyes as I plead with him not to bring the boys any closer. But he won't listen. I have this overwhelming instinct to try to protect my kids, and I feel totally powerless to do anything. I'm angry, and I tell him so, but I feel invisible, and he just tells me I'm overly sensitive and need to calm down. The night before we leave our cabin in Grand Teton to spend the week with his family, we're in bed for the night. The lights are out, ready to go to sleep, and out of the blue, Jim starts this litany of complaints, saying that we have no chemistry, never had chemistry, he doesn't know why we're even married. He continues to say there's no intimacy between us, that we have nothing in common, that he feels nothing for me, has no feelings for me. This goes on for hours. The boys are asleep in the next room, just feet away. He isn't loud, but Jim's tone is biting and nasty. This conversation has just come out of the blue, and I'm really taken off guard and exhausted. But I suggest some ways we could reconnect, maybe focusing on things we can change, finding things we like to do together. But there is no discussion about making changes or working on things, finding common ground. And his tone gets worse. His interest in finding ways to make things better is non-existent. At this point, I'm exhausted. It's 3 a.m. and I am in desperate need of sleep. I've given up on trying to have a conversation. His only interest seems to be in venting. I am quietly sobbing and pleading with him to stop saying these things, but he won't. He just goes on and on. I just want space, but there's nowhere to go. I spend the night crying while Jim alternates between criticism and asking with disdain and contempt, "What's wrong with you? Why are you so sensitive and emotional?" The next morning, having hardly slept and spending most of the night crying, my eyes are so swollen I can barely open them. I wear sunglasses even indoors so the boys won't notice. On the way to the ranch, we stop by a drugstore and I buy Preparation H because I had learned a few years before that a small amount on my eyelids would reduce swelling. And because of this handy trick, along with more makeup than I would usually wear at a ranch in the middle of nowhere, I'm able to put up a normal facade when we arrive and begin the vacation with his family. I certainly don't feel the support that he promised. But the fight is behind us. He doesn't apologize, but he makes sweet gestures and acts really lovingly with me. We appear to be a perfectly happy couple. How did I slowly reach a point where putting hemorrhoidal medicine on my eyes felt normal? Despite the rough start, the vacation is amazing. I am blown away by the vast open spaces of Wyoming as much as I'm blown away by my horse for the week, Toby. He has quite a flatulence problem. Everyone jokes about not being behind me and Toby on rides. Johnny is our wrangler, a guitar-playing, gun-toting 23-year-old charged with keeping us safe during our visit. Several days into the trip, without any guidance or instruction, Johnny decides that we will lope, or gallop, for the first time. Toby readily obeys the command to let loose, and we speed through the wide open spaces of Wyoming, and Toby is letting out a loud explosion of gas with every step. They are coming fast and furious, and I am laughing so hard I can barely hang on. My body limp with uncontrollable giggling as I wonder how this horse can be holding in this much gas. It is terrifying and exhilarating and hilarious. And overall, it turns out to be an amazing week. Adventures in wide open spaces, delicious meals, nights spent under the stars, drinking and partying with the wranglers and other guests. Jim treats me well and acts like we're just fine. The shifts are quick and confusing, and it makes it too easy to think that the night in the cabin wasn't as bad as I thought. Maybe I was just tired and sensitive. Thanks for listening. To hear the rest of my story, please like and subscribe. And I have a blog over at metamorphosistoolbox.com where I share some of the tools that I used to leave and heal from my marriage.